Hi, thank you so much for having me. Actually, I don't. The first thing is that I do less. For me, the most important thing about what I do is being a mom. So this comes first. After that is basically my full-time job. I need to take care of that now. But then after that, I really needed to assess my life and see what I really wanted to do. So when I figured that it was writing, that I could not go do my life and not write, so I said, okay, I need to find the time to do that. So I kind of eliminated all the rest in my life. I had different projects I wanted to do. So I started to do less. And then it all came with the clarity of my vision. So for me, I was not able to write full novels because it really takes a long time. It's really a work of art, those who can do. For me, I figured that it was novellas. So I started writing novellas, and I was clear about what my vision was, what I wanted to accomplish. So then it became really clear about what were the steps that I needed to take in order to achieve that. So then after that, it was just a matter of working with my energy. I'm an introvert person, so when I'm really around other people, my energy tends to kind of, go really low. So I needed to arrange my schedule in a way that I could keep my energy level at maybe like, let's say, a 7 or 8 on 10. So when I was able to do that, my schedule was really easy to kind of set up. So I was like, okay, now my energy is not at a 7, so I'm not going to spend like an hour to write. It's just going to be just insane. I'm not going to achieve anything. So I really focused on not so much what I needed to do, but mostly the energy level I was in. And so I just added a few exercises in the morning, some meditation in the evening, so that I can keep my energy level at really 7 or 8 on 10. And it's weird, but that way I can manage to almost do everything I need to do. No, I actually I schedule it. I'm fortunate enough. I'm a single mom, but I have my kids 1 week and then they're off to see their dad. So I have a full week of, like I said, a weekend, and then my work week, the evenings are free. I do have a boyfriend, so I do need to kind of mix that up. So it's kind of hectic sometimes, but when I have my kids, I'm 100% with them. I tried like having a routine in the morning or some sort, but when I have my kids, it's impossible for me to kind of juggle everything. So I kind of resigned myself and said, okay, when I have my kids, I'm going to be fully present. So I don't have the kind of, I feel bad and I'm not with them. So that way, when I'm alone, I don't feel guilty about spending the time on myself and on my projects. So I have 2 weeks every month, 2 weekends. So I dedicate, let's say, my Sunday to my writing, and almost all the evenings when I don't have my kids around. For me, the evenings are good. I try to do that in the morning. I know a lot of people, they do that the first thing when they wake up. For me, it's exercise, because if I don't do the exercise in the evening, it's hard for me to kind of put this in my schedule. So I exercise in the morning, so I have a lot of energy. And then at the end of the day, my work is hectic, but not that much. So when I come back home and I don't have kids, then my creativity is just to the roof. So I use that time to write. Yeah. Yes, and that's a big point, because I know a lot of authors or writers, they just say that you need to sit down and force yourself to write. I don't really embrace that vision, because for me, I don't do good when I'm forced to do something. I love the idea of constraints, like having a little bit of some things that are keeping you. I write in the evening, so for me, it's just okay. I have like 2 hours there. I need to do something, but writing every day for me just drains me. So I kind of need like a balance. Otherwise, I feel I'm just doing things and I'm not living. And it's hard for me to write something if I'm not out there living my life. So I need the balance of both. How I discovered it was really simple. I kind of watched other authors, what they were doing, and I kind of handpicked a few things that I thought that would work for me. I tested a lot of stuff. I think for the last 2 years, I've been really testing what works for me, what doesn't, and what kind of like stick. What is sticking right now is the I have like a yearly plan. So, but I don't get too hung up on if I achieve it or not. But I have a like broader picture of what I want to achieve for this year, and then I break it down into parts for what I need to do every month. I read the One Thing book. Don't know the author, I don't remember, but it's an amazing book. And if you don't have time to read everything, just read the like three first paragraph and then three first chapters. He talks about kind of the magic behind choosing one thing and then breaking it down into steps and then focusing on one thing every time. And that literally changed my life. So that's my approach. That's my like magic thing that I do. And then I break it down into steps of like all the things that I need to accomplish to make that goal a reality. So, and then after that, when I have my yearly calendar, I break it down into monthly. So I have every month. I don't really, I plan it like every month, a month in advance. Like this February, what do I need to do in order to accomplish my goal? So if my goal is to, do my edits right now, then I'm gonna figure out when will I be able to do that. So some weekends I have my kids, so I'm off, so I cannot work. So I'm trying to put like all the actions that I need to do into a few days that I am able to work. That's the first thing. And the process actually, it always starts with a picture. For me, I'm a visual person. I'm really fascinated by pictures and how they can convey a mood. So when I look on the internet, Pinterest is my best friend, and I go on. I'm getting lost in Google search and all that stuff. But when I find a picture that really strike me, that I'm like, ooh, I love this picture. I want to do something about that. Usually the character is kind of what I had imagined for the story, but I get like pieces of the puzzles when I see pictures. I'm like, I want this character and this setting, and I want to, talk about this concept or this idea, this theme. And then I put all my pictures together, and it's strange, but after that, after I've done that, what I see is the movie in my mind. I see the scene happening right in front of me, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? Does anybody else see that? So and then I take all the scenes that I see and I put it into writing. And from a few scenes, I have a story. And then I kind of, work the story out to do the draft. And yeah, so that's how it starts. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's the tricky part. Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. I would start with really take a moment with yourself and assess where you are in your life. I know that I probably could not have done what I'm doing right now, like when my kids were like 1 or 2. It was just like insane. It was not the same thing. So, really be honest with where you are in your life. Really be honest with what you want to achieve. We have a lot of goals, we have a lot of things we want to accomplish, but just make sure that you're honest with yourself and what you're chasing is really what you want, what will really fulfill you in your life. So once you know what will fulfill you, then just go ahead and make your arrange your life in a way that you are able to fit that in as a priority. I see this as a, let's say you have a bowl and you want to fit rocks, bigger rocks, smaller rocks, sand, and water. If you put the water first and then you try to pour the sand in, it's just going to become a mess. But if you put your bigger rocks first, and then after that you put the smaller rocks, then you're able to put the sand and then the water, and everything fits. So just make sure that you take some time by yourself to look at what are your big rocks, and make sure that you allow the time to do that. So it comes back to having less. For me, I've been moving around quite a while in my life, and I don't have much stuff. I because a lot of energy is drained when you have to take care of a lot of stuff. You have to repair them or just, clean up. And when you have a lot of responsibilities, when you have a lot of projects going on, you're not going to be able to do everything. And you're not going to be able to organize everything as well. So organization first comes with having less. As soon as you have less, then you become less stressed and less overwhelmed, and then you're able to just go on with what you have to do. And what it brings, the third point that I want to make is about the clarity. Once you know what you want to do, you have less things to do than you have time to do, and it's clear in your mind. It's like, that's the thing I need to do. And the last thing I could say is have a dedicated place for all the activities that you want to prioritize in your life. So for me, my computer is where I write. I have a place on my desk where I put my iPad, and this is for Instagram. I have another place where my personal stuff is, so that I visually know that, I need to take care of this when the time for the personal stuff gets in my agenda. So when you have a dedicated place, it's a brain hack that you can do easily. So once you see what you have to do, your brain is just going to be in kind of executing mode. You won't waste energy just trying to make decisions. What do I need to take care of right now? And so, yeah. 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 Yeah, and they have done research on that, and you really lose energy when your eyes look at stuff. It's really incredible. And once you remove that stuff, you don't need to be a neat freak, but once you remove stuff, you're just going to feel liberated, and there's going to be space for what you really want to do and what brings you joy. This is amazing. I didn't know we could do that. I'm going to do that right after this. This is amazing. Yeah. For me, I think I was 8 or 9 years old. As soon as I started to write in school, I knew I wanted to write love stories. I had no idea that you could do this for a living, like writing books and stuff. But I remember the vision clearly in my mind. I was sitting in my office, my desk when I was a kid, and facing a white piece of paper, and I was like, one day I'll write love stories. So it always kind of stick with me. The why do I want do I why do I write romance? This is a good question. I think that love is definitely like one of the biggest forces of change in life. Um, when you don't love the right way, you can be faced with things that you need to change about yourself. When you love the right way, it can literally change your life, and the people around you. Um, so for me, it was actually the best gateway for change in a person. And putting that under fiction, um, the idea started mostly for my personal experience. I went through a bad relationship, and I was like, how can I make this trauma or like really big experience into something positive? So I started to write about it, and writing the story of how I felt and what had happened kind of released. I was able to let go, and I was able to kind of look at what I had done wrong, or my perspective. What were my perspective around love? Um, is it like because it's for my own personal satisfaction, or is it like most purest love of all, that you can really love a person and you're able to let that person go because you really love them? So it kind of started that way. But I don't write just romance. So in my romance, I love to add different elements that I'm passionate about. This might sound weird, but I love quantum physics. I love magic, fantasy. I love like a little bit of action and soft suspense and mysteries. I love Sherlock Holmes and James Bond, and so for me it was kind of I'm seeing myself as maybe Nicholas Sparks meet James Bond or something. So I like I like to mix like all of these elements together. I love tarot cards. For me, this is kind of part of the magic thing. So it started with the romance, but I really do add a lot of other elements to it. Yes. It's impossible. I have no idea how to do that still. Maybe one day I'll be able to, there will be a section for like miscellaneous or something. Um, but that was the biggest struggle for me. Like, where the hell do I put this genre? In which genre do I put my books in? I'm still struggling with that. And I know that with romance, my first book doesn't really end with a happy ending because it's a series. So I struggle with that because I know in the romance, you don't want to offend, anybody, and you have to kind of have like a happy ending. Um, so I'll test. I'll see what works and what doesn't. But for now, it's kind of a romance mix with, fantasy and a little bit of magic. So we'll see. Yeah. Huh, that's a good question. My first novel, the series started with an inspiration from my personal experience. Um, I wrote that book 10 years ago. So the first book that I wrote was my exactly like word per word what actually happened. Then I figured I cannot publish that. This is for my own healing. This is not for people to write as a fiction. So I spent some time just doing some other things in my life, and then I came back to it a few years back, and I took the whole manuscript, and then I kind of viewed it at more as a fiction and maybe more of a reader's perspective, and saying, okay, what do I want to say here? Like, this was my healing process, but how can my healing process help others? And I wanted to put that into a fiction, into a series of what love can do. At first, it cracks you open, it just tears you apart, and then from that, how do you reconstruct yourself? How do you have hope for a better relationship down the road? And for me, it happened. I really met someone amazing, and I was able to kind of uh, maybe distance myself from the trauma that happened and see that there's definitely something amazing behind that event. And so from there, I changed the character's name, I changed like the settings, I changed the all of that, so that in my brain it was not my personal story, but it was inspired by one. But then I added a lot of fiction into that after that. Yes. Yes. Hmm. I stumbled upon a book that has not been released yet. It's called The Storytelling Edge. It's in pre-order right now, but maybe by the time that this episode will air, it will be out. But they talk about like the magic behind storytelling, and they say that you need to have a balance of two elements. The first one is comfort. Like people need be in their comfort zone when they are reading something, but if there's just the comfort, they're going to be bored. So you need to have a certain amount of novelty, attached to it. And when you have too much novelty, then people just like say, "Oh, what is that? I'm not getting into it." So they say that the greatest stories have those two elements in perfect balance. So I think that storytelling is really about bringing people to evolve, and you can do that by making sure that they are comfortable. And then you bring a little bit of something that will open their mind, will make them wonder, will make them rethink what they are doing, like rethink their perspectives. And then you have a shift. For me, I think it's more of the inspiration that is behind the storytelling. And it's that little spark that happens when you read a book or when you watch a movie that you're like, oh my God, okay, I think something shifted inside of me, something changed. I got moved by something. And then you touch the heart. So when you're able to touch the heart, I think it's easier to say than to do, but when you're able to do that, I think that you can make people evolve and you can, make the world a better place. I think that's what is really remarkable about storytelling. Yeah. Yes. I'm really an intuitive person. So for me, I believe in the muse. I listen a lot of my intuition and I get like inspiration. It kind of comes from like greater intelligence. I don't know how to say that, but it comes from a different place. And I'm able to access this when I'm in the flow state. Um, when I'm in flow, I don't really feel my body. I don't feel my mind. I kind of channel different aspect of life, and then my brain kind of works in a way that it tries to bring that into a story I can tell. So it's not a tangible process. It's not something really I can put like white and black in it. But it's kind of a feeling. There's For me, I want to spark people into changing the way that they perceive a certain thing. So my intention behind writing has always been that. So now it's really about learning the craft of writing in order to translate this feeling into a story and hopefully, one day change someone's life. But my inspiration really came from The Alchemist, from the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And when I read that book, I was like, that's the thing I want to write about. That's, for me, it's a fictional story. But at the end, you're like, oh my God, yes. So, yeah. I think it's different from each book. The first one, so my series, it's kind of I imagine a six-part in this series. The first one was inspired by my own story, so by a character. The second one is definitely the change that happens for her. Um, and then after that, it's more about I think I would have to say it's more about characters. It's how love can change a person. Um, and I add my plot is really centered around what can happen for this character to evolve. So I think that, yes, yeah, yeah. It's funny because they are not based on real people. Because when I tried to do that, and I just see the face of that real person, and I'm like, no, I don't want them like in my fiction. This is real life. This is not fiction. So for me, they are really all fictional. Um, I go, like I said, it's really about a picture. So I create mood boards. I'm really a vision people, so I really create vision boards. Let's say for one character, I saw a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio in a certain way with the eyes looking at you like really fiercely. And I was like, oh, that's the thing. He's going to be a character. But I don't go look around for all the pictures of Leonardo DiCaprio and trying to like bring him into a character. It's just, I'm looking for a mood. I'm looking for a physical expression. I'm looking for something that will kind of spark the creation of that character. And once I have that, it's kind of an anchor. I'm like, oh, that person is like that. Um, and then I have a wonderful book. I don't remember the title, but it's about archetypes. And then, yes, this book this book is just amazing. If you don't have that and you're a writer, you need to get that one. And then I go into this in order to kind of put bold on this mood I have. And I say, oh, yes, this is really that type of person. And from there, I kind of go more on the internet and I search for like would be their clothes, how would they dress, and but I'm not too hung up on like the physical aspect. That's something I need to kind of work on. But at first, I'm looking for a mood. I'm looking for a type of person. But of course, it's inspired by people I see in movies, by people I see on the street. I have one character in a book that I just got inspired by. I was taking a walk and I saw an old man just sitting on a bench alone reading a book, not reading a book, but just having a book in his hand. And I got, oh my God, I have a story for this. Just this picture just gave me a story. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But yeah, it kind of goes like that. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes, and I don't base my character basically just on archetypes. I don't want to create another Wonder Woman, or it's they already exist. I use that as a foundation. So when I never start with them. I start with a picture, with a mood, with something that came to me, and after that, I kind of use that as a foundation for my inspiration. And I look at those elements. That's why I love so much this book, because it doesn't really go into much details. You just get a sense of, um, different traits that they might have, or different. I really use it because she added some motivations or dreams that they might have, or something that if this happens to them, they will want to fight back, or they will just, so I use that in order to kind of enhance my first impression of them. After that, I leave the book. I don't really spend more time with that, and then I work with my own inspiration with the plot. What is happening? So it kind of tints my characters, but they don't like nobody's going to be able to. I don't think nobody's going to be able to say, oh, that's this archetype. So yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's an amazing question. Yes, I did move 30 times in 37 years. um, I think that it made me an explorer. I think it made me someone who is really open-minded. I am in love with the whole world. I'm not just in love with my city or my town, or because I don't really belong. For me, I belong in the world. I don't really belong in a city. Um, so for me, I think that it opened my mind to other people's culture, other people's view of the world, and it made me so curious. For me, it was just like I need to learn so many things because I was not restrained to just I'm French. My first language is French. I'm from Canada, and it's like you can easily be stuck in your home and not thinking about anybody else. But having moved like that, it opened me to a lot of other things that I was like, oh my God, I need to be doing this in my life. Other people that had different dreams than I had before. So it affected my writing in a way that my characters are really driven by realizing their highest potential. They want something out of life. They're not quite sure what it is, but they are kind of in a quest for something more. And I make them move a lot in my books, uh, so maybe that affected in that way. But they are looking for something. They are searching for something. So I think that's how it affected my writing. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. All right, so my website is jenniferoaks.com. So you can find me there. Instagram, I love Instagram because of the pictures, of course. So you can find me on Instagram by email. My email is on my website. Awesome. Yep, it's on my website. Right now, and my books are not published yet, so it's going to be in April for the first one, and I plan on releasing two other books by the end of the year. So yeah, this will be out soon. Thank you. Yes. Well, thank you, Dinah.